Well, hello and welcome to today's Arts and Wellness Cafe. What are you drinking today? Have you got your drink to relax yourself while you sit and listen to today's session? So, where's my cup gone? I think I finished it. I finished my drink. But what I had today was black tea and bay leaf. Bay leaf, fresh bay leaf from the garden. I'm growing bay leaf. I'm so excited about all the different plants that I'm able to grow. It's almost like, that dream come true in the sense that, there are a lot of tropical fruits and herbs and things that I remember saying, oh, I'd love to be able to grow that. And now I'm actually growing it and using it in my day to day, my cooking, and for tea. So, um, today's overall theme is motivation, and we're going to think about some areas around motivation, keeping yourself motivated, how we motivate ourselves, and what that might look like for us creatives. And I just really want you to take this opportunity to think about how you can um, use some of the tips or the hints or the insights that you may learn and apply it to your own situation. And also look at how you can, um, sometimes the information isn't for now, but you need it. It's almost like creating a toolkit for yourself so that you can put these things in place so that when you need a bit more motivation, when you need to be more motivated, or when you need to think about why you aren't motivated, you can think back and say, oh yeah, Amanda mentioned some of these tips, let me try them. The other thing that we're going to be looking at today is an art journal, and we're going to be working on an art journal. And I'll show you some of the pages. So these, we're going to be creating this. I've since gone over in some of the spaces, so I've actually been working on this as well since I made it. But I'm going to show you how to make this, and I'll also talk to you about some of the alternatives, so that if you want to make a page that you can come back to. This is like one of my mini ways of motivating myself. I'll make a page like this, and then in each square I'll be able to come back and do something that will keep me doing something creative and being inspired. And then I'll show you another alternative, and again, at the moment I've been adding to it, but you'll see me essentially create this page and also a page to come back to. And what this is if you haven't got supplies, you can take a magazine. You can take, I keep calling it my favourite magazine. So it's a magazine, and create either squares or circles. So I've done that from a magazine, and this is what I add to the page. And it's giving you the variation, because you may not want to do a wet activity, which working with paints and things like that, or if you're caring for somebody, you may want to break it down. So I'll show you how you break it down, the activity, and do just part of it. And it's again a great way to be able to spend some time being creative. And so this is some of the things that I have, where I might not want to do a whole page. And there's a nice page, well, I like it because I like the deepness of the colour. This brown one I had, it's a paint I haven't used for a while, and I wasn't doing an activity, but I thought, let me see what this colour looks like on the page. And it's this deep brown. And then a next activity another time was, let me take out my white pen and just do some doodling. So I set up myself in terms of having pages like this that I can come back to time and time again, where if I was waiting for something, if I had an appointment and I was waiting, I could take my journal along with me and then just be doodling, but doing some activity with the time that you have. So as I say, the theme is motivation, and we think about, well, I'll ask you the question, you know, what drives you to create art? What keeps you, let me look at my question. Okay, so yeah, what drives you to keep making art even in the time of, you know, when you're doubting yourself, or when you might feel like you have a creative block? Now, I don't really associate creative block with my creativity, because I look at everything that I do. There's so many things that I do that creativity is part and parcel of, or I make it so. You know, so when I cook, it's like, oh, what do I feel like using? What do I feel like cooking? Let me bring some things together. And because I know what different blends of spices, or if I add garlic and ginger, I know what kind of effect I'm gonna get, what flavors I'm gonna get. So I know the basic things that I can pull together a simple, you know, meal and make it taste really good. And also, if I've got more time, you know, I might say, okay, yeah, I feel like doing like a fish dinner or chicken or whatever it is, but I know what flavors to bring together. So I have my toolkit, and my toolkit is my herbs and spices, you know, things like onions, garlic, what else? Ginger, turmeric, and then I use things like broadleaf thyme, and now moringa pods, especially if I'm doing sort of like a soup, and that's just the cooking. So that's an example. In my art and creativity, I'm always writing, always doing something that either I'm preparing background pages, I'm working on background pages, depending on the time that I may have, or you know, if I want to do a wet or dry activity, or like today I was out in the garden selecting some sea grape leaves, because I use them, and just wanting to quickly, I use them and I stitch, so I do some stitching with them. I use it's a wood burning tool, and I create designs in them. So I will find things that I have around me and do different activities. So I was collecting some of the leaves this morning, and they just need to dry, so that I can work on, it's a course that I'm putting together on working on the leaves and showing you all the techniques. So I'm always doing something. So gathering the leaves is a creative activity for me, as well as my gardening activity. Planting specific plants, because I know that at one point sooner or later, I'm going to want to do something with those things. So it's setting yourself up so that when you don't feel like collecting the leaves or painting on a page, you've got a page that you can come to, or you've got an activity that you can come to, that you can immerse yourself in that and take your time, just, you know, having fun really, and reconnecting. Because sometimes it's that you have got out of a particular flow, and it might be that where your normal routine might be, you start the day with your journaling, you might have got up, or something might have happened that has meant that you can't start your day journaling, and then there's a knock-on effect where you don't do some of the things that you would normally do to kind of help your workflow. Or like for me, I talked about feeling that I was in a fog, and what that was for me was that I hadn't been looking at my schedule. I've just been, oh right, okay, I've got to do this, but there are other things that needed to be done in my schedule, and I kind of got out of the sync of looking in my schedule, deciding what needed to be done, the three main things that needed to be done, and then the three other things that needed to be done. I was still doing stuff like on automatic, like I was still creating certain things or filming certain things, but the main core of my work, it just felt like it wasn't moving in the direction I know it needed to, and so I fell out of sync. But being creative, doing the creative activity, even if it was just to create a background with some circles made out of ink and doodling, that was something that helped me stay creative. Or reading, or going out for a walk, or making circles from a magazine that I don't want to touch any paint today. Well, it's never been that for me, but I just want to do a dry activity inspired by other people. So I was inspired to look through the magazine and then cut out the images that said something to me, and then just make these for another time. And the time that came was the working in the journal, and just creating, just adding these to the page and showing you how you can do that. So that's one of the ways in which I constantly keep myself motivated, because I'm always doing something creative and always working on something. I'm just looking, Cole, the dog, is just like, it's just got up as if he'd seen something, and it's just like, it's funny when they get up and they're looking at a space in the room, and you just think, what is it you've seen? Like, and sometimes it's a fly that's flown past him, but it's just like, it's funny to see how they are. Anyway, so keeping yourself motivated by making sure that you are adding to your toolkit, adding to, so I've got loads of journals that I have around that I'm able to work in, if I feel like working in a chunky, one, just again, having pages that I can come to and just add. I might just add some journaling. It might have a message on there for me that I can just think, yeah, that's what I need. I need to be still. I need to let me just put on some music. And so I've also got, playlists of music that I know that will uplift me, that I can play if I'm kind of feeling, I'm not feeling 100%, not in terms of whether you feel well in terms of, but yeah, I mean, it's all part and parcel. If you're spiritually, emotionally, mentally on a level, then you're going to feel generally a lot better. And it only takes for one thing to get out of balance to then other things start to be affected. And also, like, here's something I made earlier. So this is one of my wearable art pieces. It's made from leather, and I did some using my wood burning tool, created an image, and it's I was going to say wearing your own art if you can, if you've got, making things for yourself is really that's it. You're making things, and what is your motivation? Is it that, you want people to buy what you're making? Obviously, that is, part and parcel of it. But what about you? Are you making something for you? Is everything for sale? Or is it, the playfulness, like, these are just for me. These are not for, somebody to purchase this kind of thing. If I was going to make a journal, it'd be very different. It would have space to be able to do this kind of thing in it. but these aren't for sale, these are for my health. So it's, again, as I say, putting things in place so that you can come back and do them, especially in those times that is needed. So we can look at, you know, being motivated, and okay, if you have a block, so staying motivated is an ongoing thing. It's something that you have to work at. As I say, you have to put things in place to enable you to reach back and, you know, or reach in the toolkit and get on with something else. So I often find that, well, I like writing, so I write a lot, I blog. So again, it's having more than one thing that you can do, that if you don't feel like doing one, you can do another. Going out and spending time in nature, and I take my camera, and even in my own garden, it's just like I'm always surprised by different things. I'm always amazed at the growth of different things, and it's just, yeah, I find that an inspiration, and then I want to come back in the studio and, you know, work on something. And again, it's just like I saw a particular leaf, and it's a pale colour. This is tan. It's just slightly lighter. It was like this, and I really liked working on these ones. I mean, the colours that you get from the sea grape, they vary in colour, and yeah, I really enjoyed doing the mark making on the leaf. And so when I saw that there was some more ready outside, it was just like, oh yes, we're going to have a session there. So it's always thinking about how you can express yourself in different ways. And I think if you're constantly leaving time to just play with your supplies or play with a new piece of work, it might be that you know, you want to try a new technique. You have to give yourself the time, because it won't come otherwise. And in that way, you grow and you can kind of push the boundaries of where you are. Before I created on the leaf, I was doing wood burning, and I was also embossing metal, which I'll show you another time. But when I started the wood burning, and then I went on to leather. I had loads of pieces of leather, and I was just like, oh, I wonder what. And it was because I had given myself the time to do the wood burning that when I was looking at some of the leather that I had, I was and I just thought, let me just try, and I was really pleased with the results. And then these came up, and it was just like, this, I really like doing this. And because I've done this on the leather now, then doing it on the leaf, it was just like, you know, I was doing a lot of stitching, and I was thinking on the leaf, and then I was thinking, oh, I wonder what effects that you can get with the, you know, with the wood burning tool on the leaf. And it was just like, oh my gosh, it's a lovely combination. And when you see, you know, the different designs that you can do, it's just like amazing. I have been looking out for some new attachments, different kind of attachments for the wood burning tool. But what I made sure that I did was, it comes with 6 heads, is to see how many different effects each one of these heads can give. And it's just like, you know, you're looking at your supplies, looking at your tools, and making the most out of them. And that the only way you can do that is through play and working with them. So what I think we'll do now is we'll go on to the art journal, and I'll show you how to make the page and work with some simple supplies. You've probably got most of them in your home somewhere. If you've got some background papers that you've been working on, great. If you've got some cardboard, recycled cardboard, here's an opportunity to do some recycling. You can use background paper, or you can just use the card itself and paint on them. So let's go into the journal and I'll show you how to get on with it. Okay, so we're going to get started and make something similar to this, which is you can go back to any time you want and, you know, do doodling designs and things like that. So I can come in and add to any of these squares. If I want to just do a square, I can. If I want to do a bit more, I can. And like on some of these, I've used a fan brush and just gone over a few squares so that I can then come back at a later time. So I'm going to show you how I did it basically. So these are just cardboard. This is recycled cardboard that I got from my printers, and so I've got that, and then I've got this sheet of paper. Again, it's on paper that I've used, it's recycled paper, and on the back I started out doing some doodling, doing some circles, and then going around with a white marker, and in these two I have done a bit more doodling, but I thought what I would do is start using some of this in the journal. So this is a recycled journal. It's made from watercolor paper, and as you can see, I've done, you know, a little bit of the same kind of thing in a different area, and so we've got little squares, little pieces of art that were really fun to make. And they measure, let me just see, I think it's 1 inch by 1 inch, so actually no, it's 1.5 inches by just over 1.5 inches. So you cut them up as big or as small as you want. These are 2 by 2, and the other ones that we're going to do are going to be maybe slightly smaller. So as I say, this is watercolor paper, and I've just gone through and done some exercises on some pages. So where I've had more ink or paint on my palette that I don't want to waste, I would put it on a page like this. And these, as you can see, are pages waiting for something to happen. And then every now and again, when I get a bit more time, I might just add, like I've added the black. I've still got to add some more colour. It's quite a washed out page. So I could either use it as a page that, okay, now I put these little small circles actually. I might do that on here because we've got blues. The other thing I've got on my desk at the moment, I was using some ink, and I don't want this to go to waste. It dries up fairly quickly, so all I do is get a broad brush, and I might do this page, and all I'm going to do is either a series of circles and lines, curves, and this then is just the start of another page for another time. I think I've also used some water-soluble crayons on here, so it's going to be interesting when I start adding to this what it would look like. Okay, so I'm happy that I got the ink used up, but as I say, it's as simple as that. You know, sometimes this is all you've got time for, just to lay down some colour on a page or use up. Now, if you're, as an alternative, if if you want a slightly easier session, it might be that you get a page and it's just a mark making day. You know, you get out some paints and you draw circles, you think about some shapes and that you might like to draw, and you just paint them. And whatever paint you've got in your palette or the favourite colours that you might decide to use, you can do that activity. Okay, so that's an alternative, one alternative. So as I say, I'm going to be using this. Now, if you don't have a piece that you've already worked on, or you know, if you want to just take your time and do that now, find either watercolor paper or recycled paper, whatever you have to hand, and just paint it in a color and do some doodling on it and allow it to dry, and then you can pick up on to this next part. If you don't have, as an alternative, if you didn't want to get, you know, lots of paint going, you could look in a magazine. So I've taken some of my favorite magazines and Stampington and looked at some of the images that are on the pages. Let me just get a blank page so that you can get a better look. And all I've done is cut up some circles at different sizes and stuck them together. So we're going to do this as well. We're going to add this to the page. But as you can see, you can get some really nice colours, and you can just have an activity that is providing, you know, small shapes on the page, like so, and you don't have to deal with paint, water and anything. It's just glue, and a pair of scissors. Yeah, so I've cut them up into different sizes. I'll probably be using the smaller ones on the page, and I'll decide what page I'm going to be using them on. So that's the alternative for that one as well. You know, you can use a magazine. So let's get started. I'm going to attach this because it's quite flimsy, and I'm going to attach it to my card. And I'm just going to, which side am I going to do that side. So I'm just going to add the card to the paper. Okay. So adding the card to the paper, get my glue, and then I'm going to cut it up into the size that I want. Now I was thinking, because I'd folded this prior, I was thinking I'm just going to cut it, let me see what size they will be. So this measures 3.5, so it will be 1.7 if it's half of that. Yeah, okay, 1.5, that's 1.5, there's 3, and then there's half there. Okay, so that's there. So I'm going to be cutting them, and I will get 8, so and a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to add the glue to, this is just a PVA glue. There we go. So this is just a fine point applicator that I brought, and so it can write, you know, you can write and add glitter to it as well. So we're just going to get on with this, and we'll come back after I've stuck it down and cut it up into the bits.
so we've cut them up, and it makes some of them make some quite interesting shapes, as you can see. So again, yeah, just use what you have, and don't worry about, okay, well, no, this doesn't look complete, it's not supposed to. It's giving you a way to come and be creative in your journal when you need just a few minutes to do something, yeah? So I'm going to use, I'll see how many I can fit on a page. I did an extra piece here, so maybe I'll cut this up. Alrighty, so, okay, so we'll look through your journal and see what page. Now, as I say, I've got pages that are half done and stuff like that, and it doesn't matter whether it's half done or whether it's complete or not. You can still you know, create on the spaces that you can see that you might think, oh, okay, that's not finished. So this is one that I look forward to coming back to. I was working on it yesterday, and yeah, so I've chosen this page, and I'm just gonna add them here and see how many I can fit on. I could probably fit about 6, and maybe the smaller ones that I had, let's see, yeah, do I have another smaller one? I'm gonna have to make one. Okay, then we can get away with that. Okay, so that's the first bit. I might even, should we just put these here as well? Yeah, I might as well. This is what I'll do. I'll put this I'll do it like that. Okay. So all I need to do now is stick them to the page. So, as you can see, if you're wondering, because I really do like the way this looks, especially when it's cut up, you take your page, you add paint to it, any colour paint you want, you get black ink or a darker colour, create some circles, yeah, so you can see the circles, and you create lines as well. And then once that's dry, you go around with your white pen or whatever colour pen you want to use, and then you've got your background paper. So select any background paper of choice, and when you cut them up you'll see how nice they look, and it's especially with this black ink that you seem to get really, well, I like the effect that you get. I've got this one piece that I'm thinking I want to make the most of, so I'm going to cut it into 3. And just put them there. Okay, so that whole piece got used. Okay, so you can stick them down with glue. I've got a glue gun. It's just easier, and it means that I can start working on the pieces immediately. But now I've got all of these little small pieces of art that I can work on and make more individualistic. I can, you know, change up the colour a bit. I like the colour that's on there, so I might not do too much to it. So I'm just adding the glue at the back and sticking them down, and you see it's really quite a quick thing. And again, for yourself, if you know, have a minimal amount of time. This particular part might have just been the activity for you for now. So, you know, it can always be broken down into stages, and that's what you've got to think about. Especially if you're looking after somebody, if you're a carer, you've got to find ways of making your time work and also try and be creative. It's important that you spend this time for yourself, but if you need to snatch some time, you know, this is a little activity that you can do. And, you know, you don't need a lot of supplies. You just need some glue, scissors, and as I say, you can do it with, you know, magazine pages, or it could have been a page that you have worked on before. And if we think about this whole process, this from start to finish, from, you know, getting your journal, creating a background, that's one activity in terms of just adding paint to a background. You know, getting your card, getting your background page that you then stick down on the card. That's another activity. Whether you have to add the marks, the circles, that's another activity that you can be getting on with. And yeah, as I say, I think it's important to be able to see all the different stages so that you can make the most of your time. You know, somebody might not have time to get all the paints out, but they've got time to stick down a background page in their journal. So that's how that one looks. Okay, let us, while it dries pretty quickly, but while this settles, let's look at the magazine pages. So as I said, I just went through my Stampington magazine, and there's some beautiful images. I will be doing a project showing you all the different ways that you can use a magazine that you might have, and different activities that you can do with the pages. So I've just cut them out, cut them into circles, and then I've added circles on circles. Yeah, so I'm thinking about using the smaller ones. And some of them, I had some cards, greeting cards, and all I've done is cut them, the image, into circles, and I can use them like that. I prefer with the having more than one circle together like this, but these are slightly, actually I might do too large and too small. We'll see. Let me find a page that I want to put them on. So or I could maybe come to the back here and just use, so this you can see is just a brush where it's got the bare minimum of paint on there. I've just literally tried to get the excess off the brush, so I'm thinking I'll use this one. And I was thinking of maybe a bigger circle and a small one. I like that. That's a circle with just a square behind it. Yeah, let's do that one. And this has got a bit of the magazine, it's got a map, and it's got card and just recycled pattern paper. So we've got several activities here. We've got you making the background, again, or not. You could have a plain background, but if you're working with somebody with an activity, it could be that you cut up the circles, find magazines, find images that you like, cut up the circles and put them together, cut them different sizes, or have them at different sizes. If there may be issues with the scissors, you might want to pre-cut the circles for them, and then I'm going to use that one, and then they can put the circles together. It could be the gluing activity, putting different colours together and shapes. So that's a nice activity to do as well. I'm thinking this. Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, so I'm going to get, actually, hold on, let me see, yeah, that one. I'm going to get that stuck down, and I can then come back to this when I'm ready. So I'm going to use my glue gun again. As I say, it's you have to be quick working with this. And you have to be careful. The amount of times I've burnt myself using it. So they're slightly raised. With the glue gun, it makes it slightly raised. So now we're going to look at what we've got with both of them. Okay, so we've got this page, and I really like the fan brush. So what you can do, because I've done this on, you know, it's the watercolour paper and there's some spaces that I can add colour. I've just randomly chosen these colours, and what I would do then as another activity, I might say to myself, yeah, okay, I just want to add some colour to the page. I don't need to do anything else. I can just add colour, activate them, and then I can go on to the next stage, which would be, you know, maybe doing something additional to the circles. Okay, so then we just activate the colours. I do the lighter ones first, and just go around, and this brush is, it doesn't matter if it's going on some of the circles, they're going to dry, and it just adds additional interest. Okay, so just go around the page, activating the colours. You can decide to, before you stick the things on, okay, you want to just add some colour as opposed to doing it afterwards. Like so, you see? Okay, so now that's done, you can leave it to dry. I'm going to continue. Sometimes it's interesting to just see how things will turn out. So, what I normally do with my circles, like in this situation, I would go around it with some black ink. This is a waterproof ink, permanent ink. And I'm just going to get a fine brush. I had one that I was working with here. Just going to get a fine brush, and all I do is go around the outside of the circle. Again, if you want to do a dry activity, you would leave this for another time. I will show you what I do with the other page, because that's really a dry activity, but I can't resist the doodling and doing something to the pages. I guess this started out as a dry activity with the circles, the magazine, and then sticking them down. So as I say, you can do it in stages. and take your time. Right, so where I've added the ink on the watercolour paper, it's bled a bit, but that's fine because, as I say, I wanted to experiment a bit, and you see the different results of your working on a page. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is use the fan brush. So the fan brush now will give me some nice shapes and lines, and will also add to the background. So I'm just going to add some water to this, just a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to take the brush and just take it round, and again, where it's gone on the watercolour paper, it will bleed a bit. But what the lines then give you is opportunity to create, use your white pen if you've got one, if you want to do that. I do like spending a lot of time, you know, doodling with my pen. Okay, so now that I've done that, I will let that dry, and this is a page I will come back to. With the excess, I'll put a bit more water in there, and I'm just going to take it over to either this page. Yeah, I'll take it over to this page, and I'm literally just using up the ink, so using the fan brush to make these lines. We'll do some curves, half circles, until all the ink has been used up. Okay, and then again I'll take this and just the last bit. So that's how this page was initially done. Just like this, I would have taken a brush with the last bits of the paint and just try to get it off onto the page. So now here's a page that's going to be waiting for some activity. So I'm just going to put this in my water. And as I say, we'll come back to that another time, and we'll look at the other page that we were working on. And I'll just get hold of some of my Posca pens, because I'm going to be doing some doodling. So these are the squares that we cut up. I've did my own background, used the paint, black ink, and then the white pen initially. And what I can choose to do is now use this as an opportunity to just doodle in place. Some circles. Or what I'm feeling is I want to use my fan brush again. So use the fan brush we will, and I'm going to be doing again some shapes. So I'll get my ink. This is the Speedball India ink. So I just need a few drops. And I might use a different brush actually. I was using this small one, but maybe Let's see what other ones I've got. See what other, so I've got this one. I've got a range of them. Let me show you. I've put them away in my paintbrush holder because, as I say, I bought them a while back. So I've got a variety of different ones. So I guess these ones were part of this set. I've got some Dali ones which I haven't used, and some, what's this, Winton. This is Fine Hog. So it's important that you use your supplies. And then I went out and I brought these. So it's quite a large selection. Oh, here's a small one. Didn't realise I had such a small one. I'm going to use that one. And yeah, maybe this one here, and see what effect I get. But again, if you don't have a fan brush, you know, just use what you have. Use whatever brush you have, and think about some of the supplies that you might have that can make some interesting marks. Let's just move this to the side. Okay, so this is a nice little size. So I'm just going to put some water in there, and we'll just see what we get. We'll play about. It does kind of clump together slightly with the brush, and what you've got to make sure you do is that you wash them really well. So I'm just going in the spaces now. Some of the ink is going onto the squares themselves, but that's fine. I didn't have any specific plan that I wanted to do for that page. Okay, so that's that on that page. I'm going to use the bigger one. Maybe I'll wet it first. Wet the brush first and shake out the wet it and shaking out the water. It's gone a bit clumpy. Okay, so we're going to do some spirals. As I say, or you don't have to do anything on top of yours at all, you know, but okay. Ooh. Okay, so I like that spiral. And then what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to add some more water. And I'm going to just take the brush in there and put it out on this page. A bit more water, I think. Yes, it's just getting off all of the ink, and it's making sure it doesn't get wasted. So this is a great way to create your own backgrounds over time. You know, use up that paint. Don't just leave the paint to dry on the palette. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so now for me, the real exciting bit is, again, you know, doing the doodling, using different colours, and then kind of bringing these all together in different ways. So let's just spend a little bit of time on here and I'm just going to not complete the whole thing. I'm just going to work on a few areas, and then we'll come back into the well, we're in the studio. We'll come back. You'll come back to me face to face. Okay, so let's go and enjoy it. Listen to the music as you're doing yours, or if you're just watching, you know, I recommend you at least do some doodling. If you can. There may be things that you see that you want to try out, so you might want to do that. Okay, so let's just enjoy the next 5 minutes. That was 5 minutes. So I got to do some colour here, and I like that, and I think I might add some colour to these other areas here. It doesn't have. Okay, so this is what we've got with these ones. I've added, as I say, I've added some additional marks and stuff since I stopped. That's that one. And so again, I can come back to this page at any time, and if I've only got a few moments, I can, you know, add some doodling. I can even write in the areas, some of the areas. I can do whatever it is I want, depending on how I'm feeling at that time. And so I think it's really important for you to have spaces like this in your journal, and just miniature spaces, so that, you know, I can work on the whole thing, or I can just work on a small square. And I've got some others around that I've done the same thing to. I've got some other pages that I've been working on. There's another little page I used some really small. I had these small pieces of card that I oh, here it is. So I had these small pieces of card, and I had done this page again. This was paint that was left over, and I've just added to it. And then I had these small little cards that I stuck on, and now I've got space that I can do some little bits and pieces. So I went in and I worked on them. I added some marks there, added the white marks, but I've still got, you know, things that I may want to do. I'm not yet totally content with it, so I'm going to work on it some more. So one of the things I just want to underline is when we look at challenges that may crop up. So again, I've spoken about feeling in the fog, feeling unmotivated, because there were so many things that happened, and I didn't feel like creating a big painting or whatever. Oh, the other thing I do is the slow stitching. Like, I've been working on this. If you've seen Material Mondays, you will have seen this bit. It's coming towards its completion, and I'm working on another piece, which I'll share in Material Mondays. But it is finding things. As I say, this toolkit, it's this a place where you create pockets of time for yourself, pockets of time of activities for yourself that you can dive into. And it doesn't matter how I'm feeling, I will slow stitch, you know, and just take my time, just enjoying that process. As I say, it doesn't matter how I'm feeling. I could be feeling off, I could be feeling happy or whatever, but I will still do those, you know, that activity. Just, I think it just quietens the mind, and
just allows you to reflect, and then add in beads, and then add in different stitches is another thing, and even that can bring you out as to hearing your favorite song. So overcoming challenges is something that we're all going to have to do, but it's what is in your armor or armory that you're going to use to assist you. Yeah, so as we look at the overall word motivate, think about what is in your armory, what is in your toolkit to enable you to stay motivated, to motivate others. There may be things that you could do or that you're doing that if you shared them, that would motivate somebody else, that would encourage somebody else. And sometimes it's the smallest of thing that as creatives that we can do that can help motivate other people. Anyway, so yeah, thinking about ways in which you can motivate yourself, and it could be as simple as writing a note to yourself, making a nice card. Like, think about if you were making a card for somebody, making a nice card for yourself and putting an encouraging word in there, making several of them, and write some encouraging things in each of them. It could be just one word, or it could be a phrase or a sentence, but it's something again that you can come back to and really be inspired in that moment. Or again, it could be you're going down into the valley, but you come across the card, or you look at the card because they're in your toolkit, and it lifts you back up out of the valley. Sometimes you need to go down in there and just reflect. Sometimes you do need to do that and just, as I say, sit with whatever the emotion or the feeling is, and then you might have a little talk to yourself. I'm always having these little talks to myself, and just like, come on girl. Or it's okay, just go and have a nap, and give yourself, I have different times, it could be a 10-minute one, it's just a quick power nap, or it could be a more rejuvenating nap, 25 minutes, or so this chair is very uncomfortable. I was watching myself before and it was just like, you kind of like, you can't sit still. I need to get a more comfortable cushion. But sometimes a nap is in order, that can make you feel refreshed. I've got my refreshing nap, it's my 15 minutes, and if I need 25-30 minutes, I don't normally go over that, but I've trained myself to 5 minutes. Sometimes you're napping and it's just like you go into this place, I don't know what it's called in terms of but you come out feeling as if you've been sleeping for an hour. It's like so weird and such a lovely feeling when I have my little jingle that rings on my phone, a gentle one, and it's almost like a tropical ding 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 ding. So and then I get up refreshed, and because I'm spending time on my computer, and sometimes if you're kind of looking, and you have to remember to blink, but you have to remember to get up and move around, and sometimes I just need to rest my eyes for 5 minutes, and just having that nap, it's not a full let me get into bed under all the covers. It is just let me shut my eyes for a minute and feel the breeze as the wind blows through the window, and it's almost like that kind of feeling, and it's because the window's behind me and you're lying down, and then the breeze almost like it goes over the whole of your body, and it feels so good. And it feels so good. So we're going to leave it there. So I hope you've been motivated as you've been able to listen to some of the tips. You've looked at the art journal, maybe even worked on one yourself, even some background pages. And I hope you're able to also look at how you can alter the sessions. If you go onto my course platform, I will be putting some activities, especially if you're somebody who's a carer and you want some activities that are kind of broken down that you can say do part of it. They're going to be within this week, they're going to be up there so that you can access them. And also this particular session where I can show you how you can break it down even further to do particular exercises. So I hope that you stay blessed and be a blessing, and join me again. Join me for Material Mondays and see how we get on with some of the projects. And I hope you have a blessed weekend. Take care for now, or week. Take care for now.